Did you know that in 2018, first, let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. Did you know that in 2018, Experian, which is one of the largest credit bureaus in the country, reported that nearly 35% of Americans that have any credit at all have poor credit, or what they call it, subprime credit. But what exactly does this mean? This means that when you go and you try to purchase something that you love, such as a nice car, a beautiful house, or even apply for a credit card, you're going to hear those words that you hear echo through your dream. Decline, decline. We are often unaware of how vital credit is until we go out into the world and try to get something that we really want. Growing up, sadly, I was never informed of the effects of poor credit until now, when I'm a victim to it, and I've researched and I've gone to credit repair classes, I've done credit disputes, I've read books, I've even looked on the internet for sources, and I have a bunch of personal experiences to share with you, which makes me credible to stand here before you guys today and tell you about it. We live in a fast-paced world, and sometimes we are forced to make decisions and we don't even think about them, and we don't think about the long-term consequences. But like the domino effect, we don't pay attention to our decisions, and they may be less than desirable sometimes, and it results in us having a bad financial standing, which ultimately ends up in us having poor credit. But today I'll inform you how credit not only affects your FICO score, but it also affects your employment opportunities, and it has an effect on your and it also has an effect on your ability to purchase. I'm sure that you've heard conversations where you heard people complaining about their credit scores. You hear people saying, oh, you know, I have a low credit score, or my credit is less than desirable. Or you hear them say FICO score, and you're like, what is a FICO score? So I know I wondered, what is FICO? I've never heard that term until I stepped out into the job world. Picture this. You go into a leasing office and you're sitting in front of a leasing agent, and you know that you're about to get that dream home. You sit down with the realtor and you start discussing options with them, and they start discussing options with you, such as your lender options. And they sit down at the computer and they pre-qualify you at the start, but they look at your credit and your FICO score comes up, and you wonder, what went wrong here? Experian, of course I told you, one of the largest credit bureaus in the country, reported that FICO is actually the Fair Isaac Corporation, and it's one of the most well-known credit scores. The scores range anywhere from 300 to 850. At one point in your life, you've stumbled across the conversation amongst peers, or you just came across anybody talking about credit scores. They talk about how great they are or how bad they are. And let me explain this in ranges. Let me put this in ranges for you. So 21% of people in this world that have exceptional credit. And with exceptional credit, that ranges anywhere from 800 to 850. 25% have very good credit, which ranges anywhere from 740 to 799. 21% have good credit, which ranges from 670 to 739. 17% have fair credit, which ranges from 580 to 669, and 16% have very poor credit, and that ranges anywhere between 300 to 579. Everybody tends to value employment, and we focus on going to the interview and making a good impression. But now that we've discussed FICO, now we're going to take a look at employment opportunities. So when you have poor credit, you have limited employment opportunities. Everybody looks for a job that has exceptional pay, that's steady, and usually when you come across these jobs, you'll be dealing with other people's money. When you deal with other people's money, lenders will only approve you when you have very good credit. Jerry Detweiler, which is a host of Talk Credit Radio, explained that you'll have to do a background check, and people with credit that ranges from 620 to 639, they'll usually have a 30-year fixed rate loan with a bit over 5% APR, which is annual percentage rate. People with above average credit will have an APR of 5%, almost 5%, and people with a 740 and above will have a APR with about 4%. But what does this mean? If you were to get a $2,000 loan with great credit with a 30-year fixed rate loan at about 4%, you won't save anything. With almost 5%, you save $113 a month. With a bit over 5%, you save $175 a month. And I know that sometimes we think, well, I've made mistakes. My credit does not define me. But if you talk to somebody else, especially a professional, they'll tell you that your credit is a measure of your character. And they may feel that you're bad at managing your deadlines, or they may feel that you're a bit careless. Latoya Irby, which is a credit expert, reported that banks check your credit, and with bad credit, you're more likely to get denied. If approved, you'll have a high interest rate. It's amazing how overly looked credit is, but it has a massive effect on your future. When you go to purchase a car and you sit down with a lender with bad credit, you're not likely to hear approved, and everything that you thought was going to be great for you ends up being nothing more than a dream. Everybody has dreams of owning a home, but the truth is lenders will only approve you if you have great credit, or very good credit, as they say. But the same applies to owning a car. You'll end up with high interest rates, and the banks will overlook you unless you go to a buy here, pay here car lot. Now today we've discussed how credit affects your FICO score, how it limits your employment opportunities, and how with bad credit, it's hard for you to purchase your needs. A quote that I liked was, "The problem is not a loss of money or credit, it's a loss of trust." And when you make poor financial decisions, if you don't think, the work world will think that you're a poor financial manager.